Thank you for joining us for this information session. Tonight we will be discussing the part-time graduate programs in Applied and Computational Mathematics offered at the Whiting School of Engineering at Johns Hopkins University. My name is Cheryl Williams, and I am the Recruitment and Marketing Specialist for the Whiting School of Engineering. With me tonight is Dr. James Spall. Jim is the chair of our Applied and Computational Mathematics program. He is also a co-chair for our part-time programs in Data Science. He is a research professor in the Department of Applied Mathematics and Statistics for our full-time programs at our Homewood campus in Baltimore, Maryland. He is also a principal member of the technical staff at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, where he has worked in diverse areas within the fields of statistics and control systems for 34 years. He has published extensively in the areas of control and statistics, including 2 books, and holds 2 U.S. patents for inventions in control systems. Jim, would you like to say hello?
Hello, I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to it.
All right, thank you, Jim. For today's presentation, we'll start off with an introduction to Johns Hopkins Engineering. Next, Jim will discuss with you our part-time degree programs in Applied and Computational Mathematics. We'll review some helpful information on tuition and payment options, talk about next steps and important dates, and we'll end with a live question and answer session. If you have any questions at any point in the presentation, please type them into the questions tab on your control panel. If you are joining us via a cell phone or a tablet, simply select the question mark to access the questions section. We'll address all questions at the end of the presentation. So why study engineering at Johns Hopkins University? Johns Hopkins University was founded in 1876 as the nation's first research university. The School of Engineering opened its doors in 1913, and in 1915 it began offering part-time engineering coursework as night classes for technical workers. Since then, we've grown to offer more than 20 master's programs that can be completed part-time. 16 of these programs can be completed entirely online. Our programs are designed by people who thoroughly understand your industry. Our faculty are all expert engineers and technical professionals, and our faculty and instructional designers construct new and update existing coursework every year so that it includes the most up-to-date information. In addition to our part-time programs, the Whiting School of Engineering has over 25 research centers and institutes. This includes our strong partnership with the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory in Laurel, Maryland. We also offer full-time bachelor's, master's, and PhD programs. Our online and part-time programs are led by respected senior engineers from our Applied Physics Laboratory and faculty from our full-time programs. We are ranked in the top 25 best online graduate engineering programs by U.S. News & World Report. And of all the schools that are included in these rankings, we have the largest online part-time student population. So not only will you have lots of fellow students going through a similar learning experience, but these rankings really speak to the quality of our programs regardless of our size, and our school is experienced and well-equipped to help you navigate graduate education as an online student. The degree that you earn studying with us part-time is of the same quality as our full-time degree programs. Your diploma will not say part-time. You are eligible and highly encouraged to participate in commencement. And as a graduate, you will be one of more than 28,000 Whiting School alumni and will join our esteemed international alumni community. So that is an overview of who we are and the value of our programs. Now Jim is going to talk to you more about Applied and Computational Mathematics. Jim?
Okay, good evening, everybody. Happy to talk about this program, our ACM program. It has been around in some form or another for several decades. And as Cheryl mentioned, I am the chair of it, together with some other functions. We offer several different programs. In particular, we offer 2 degrees, or 2 certificates, I should say, or 2 certifications, 2 official certifications. One is our core degree offering is a Master of Science in Applied and Computational Math. And as you can see here, within that master's degree, we have several focus areas, 5 focus areas in particular. These are listed on the slide. These are optional focus areas that are available to provide guidance for students in picking their courses. Now, I should mention that these are not areas that will appear on a transcript or on a diploma, but they do provide useful guidance in terms of if your interests are in operations research, for example, here is a selection of courses that might be appropriate for that type of a degree. So the vast majority of our students who are pursuing a formal certification of some type are pursuing the Master of Science degree. We also offer a postmaster certificate, which is in some sense between a master's degree and a doctoral degree. It represents 6 courses beyond the 10 courses for the Master of Science degree. We don't have the formal focus, or we don't have the focus areas associated with that, but at that stage, we expect people to have some pretty specific interests in mind, and then they can choose the appropriate 6 courses, which tend to be chosen from the more advanced options that we have within our graduate offerings. And I should mention that in terms of the courses, we have a good number of courses which you can see online at the website or in the catalog. There is some overlap in terms of these 5 areas, so you'll see a particular course might appear in more than one of these areas. So for the master's degree, which is going to be the main focus of discussion from this point on, it's a 10-course requirement, expected to be completed within 5 years. At a part-time level, that's a fairly generous pace. It's obviously 2 courses per year. Some people are able to complete it quite a bit faster, and I believe that the mean is around 3 years for people to complete their degree. Cheryl perhaps could correct me on that. Within the 10-course program, we have 4 courses that are required, and then we allow for 6 elective courses. And I should mention that within the 4 courses that are required, the core courses, there is some flexibility there as well in terms of options. Everybody has to take a basic statistics class, mathematical modeling class, and then there's a choice between a matrix theory class or a real analysis class, and then there's an upper level core class in our more advanced sequence, so-called 700 level sequence, which is within 3 areas, either stochastic processes, theory of statistics, or differential equations. The elective courses can be chosen from within the ACM program, or also you can choose up to 2 electives outside of the ACM program, and that would include potentially a master's thesis option, a research and master's thesis option. So in other words, if you were interested in the research approach, you would take the 4 core courses, you would take 4 courses within your electives, and then the final 2 courses would be taken as part of your research and master's thesis efforts. So that is our core master's degree. And as I mentioned earlier, there's also the postmaster certificate, which has 6 courses, and it's arranged a little bit differently than what I'm showing, what is being shown here. So just to give you an illustration of the kind of program a student might put together, what we have done here is shown a selection of courses within the operations research focus area. And I want to emphasize again that the focus area is not an official certification on your transcript or your diploma. It's just more for guidance. But if you come in with interest, say, in operations research, here's a kind of course selection you might find appropriate. So you'll see the core statistics class, which everybody has to take, although some may be able to place out or have extensive statistics background from prior work or academic studies. A choice between matrix theory or real analysis. So here you can see the person chose matrix theory. And then in terms of the upper level sequence, this person chose the probability and stochastic processes, which is the 2-semester sequence, back-to-back semesters. Then in terms of the electives, this imaginary person, I should say, stayed within the focus area and chose the options that you can see here. 2 of them, the first 2, mathematics of risk options, et cetera, and the mathematics of finance, are both at our introductory graduate level, which is called a 400 level course. The other 2, stochastic optimization and control and modeling simulation of Monte Carlo, represent upper level courses, but those are all again within the focus area electives. And then the person chose 2 electives, sort of free-floating electives, I guess you might say. These were both actually from within the ACM program. Now, at this point, you would have the option, if you desired, to take these two courses outside of ACM. For example, a person who has strong interest in something like machine learning or deep learning might choose two courses here from the CS, the computer science program. A person with a physics background could choose something from the physics program, and so on and so forth. As you may or may not know, the EP is a fairly extensive set of master's programs, and there are a good number of courses that are allowed outside of our ACM program as those electives. I should mention that we do have one key restriction for the electives, and that we want them to have significant mathematical content. So all of the courses in EP are not available as electives, but as long as the course has significant mathematical content, typically defined by at least having a calculus requirement, it's a possible approved elective that should be vetted by your advisor. So again, this is just one potential selection from within our pretty broad range of courses. In terms of being admitted, we require a bachelor's degree. Typically, our students will have an engineering or science bachelor's degree, but that's not a requirement. We allow for essentially any bachelor's degree from an accredited university as long as the degree includes significant technical content. So there have been humanities majors, music majors, business majors, econ majors, and so on, who are not formally engineering and science majors, but they've all had a fair amount of mathematics as part of their undergraduate experience, or they had some mathematics experience and then took some additional math courses beyond their bachelor's degree, perhaps on their own. The core requirements in terms of the math is mentioned at the bottom here, prerequisite coursework. We require the standard 3-semester calculus sequence, that is Calc 1, 2, and 3, which is usually called multivariate calculus. And then we require another course beyond that. Typically, that would be something like linear algebra or ordinary differential equations, although that's not a requirement that it be that particular course. We also require one programming language, which is completely flexible in terms of what language that is. So if you are familiar with even MATLAB, that is adequate for that. Many people come in with some greater familiarity with other languages as well, Python, Java, etc. That's all fine. So we want people to have some facility with programming, but we are not concerned with specifics in terms of the language that you are familiar with it. Our GPA requirements, as you can see here, are at least 3, and we do take a careful look at that. From past experience, we have found that people with good undergraduate backgrounds in terms of strong grades do better in our program, not surprisingly. We do not require a GRE for entry. We do also require a resume to be submitted at the time of the application. We offer a degree. The core degree, of course, appears in your transcript as applied in computational math, but one can pursue that in 3 modes. The online mode is perhaps our core mode, our most popular mode right now. Not all of our courses are available online, but enough are available online to complete a degree. We also accommodate people who want a mixture, a blend of online courses as well as on-site in-person courses. And then for some people, they may want a traditional in-person mode, and we offer that as well. So right now, our courses are 50-50 perhaps, or we're approaching 50-50, may not be exactly that right now in terms of what's online and what's face-to-face. And so, and some of the courses we offer are more popular courses such as the statistics course 625403 are available in both modes. So people can do some mixing and matching if they're in this area. In terms of the in-person, on-site, face-to-face courses, almost all of them are offered at the Applied Physics Laboratory, which is approximately midway between Baltimore and Washington. On occasion, we will offer a course at the Homewood campus, a co-listed course, or allow for a course to be taken up there and count it towards the degree. But the vast majority of the in-person courses are at APL, the Applied Physics Laboratory. In terms of our faculty, over 90% of them have a doctoral degree. We have strong faculty with a lot of award-winning members on it. They are, for example, fellows of professional societies such as IEEE. They win various awards, external and internal, for their organizations. Many of our faculty are leaders within their organizations or in professional society functions. Some of them are active in research and publishing. And just in general, our faculty, I think, includes a good number of what was called innovators, so just generally smart people who have good ideas on a wide range of problems, and it's either, oftentimes to address issues internal to an organization, but also then sometimes towards external activities such as publishing and open research.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. I'd like to take over at this point and just give everyone a little bit more information to help you take this next step. Some of the most questions that our admissions team gets from prospective students is, what is the tuition and what resources are available to help me pay? So here it is. Our tuition is currently $4,055 a course. Our courses are 3 credits each, so this is the total tuition cost for each 3-credit course. Because our tuition increases each year or fluctuates each year due to inflation, we encourage students to budget $45,000 total for their degree. Just to let you know that this may exclude books and materials. The cost of books and materials really depends upon the coursework that you register for. It does vary between course to course, but in addition to tuition, you are not paying any fees. So there's no technology fee that you have to pay. Our online and part-time students do not pay a student union fee. We do not charge prospective applicants a fee to submit your application, so there's no application fee. The only fee that our students pay is a fee at the end of their study with us, known as a graduate's fee. You do have a variety of financing options available to you depending on your personal circumstance. I really encourage you to investigate and to take advantage of any education benefits that your employer may offer. We unfortunately do not have any scholarships available for our online and part-time graduate students, but there are other associations and organizations that do. For example, the National Consortium for Graduate Degrees for Minorities in Engineering, otherwise known as the National GEM Consortium, offers fellowship programs. So here they are right here. Rules and requirements and as well as application instructions can be found on GEM's website. The application deadline for this fellowship program, please know, is November the 13th, so it is coming up. If it is of interest to you, I encourage you to visit their website and get started right away. If you are a U.S. citizen or a qualifying U.S. resident, of course, you may be eligible to use financial aid. The financial aid that is available for graduate students is largely unsubsidized loans. So, of course, similar to that, you can finance your education through a personal loan. And if you are active or retired military and you have veterans benefits, you can, of course, utilize these to finance your education. We do have a number of active duty and retired military enrolled in our part-time and online programs. If you are planning on using veterans benefits to finance your education, here are some things to keep in mind. The URL that you see on your screen right here has some great information on what forms you need to complete and to submit in order to utilize veterans benefits at Johns Hopkins. That URL, ep.jhu.edu/veterans. For students who are using Chapter 33 post 9/11 benefits, the Department of Veterans Affairs sets an annual cap on tuition for private schools. That cap is $21,970.46, and that's for an entire academic school year. So it includes the fall, spring, and summer semesters. It renews every fall. We just talked about our tuition costs, so doing some quick math for you, 5 courses will be under the tuition cap. The cost for 5 courses is $20,275. 6 courses, however, will exceed the tuition cap. The cost for 6 courses is $24,330. So Johns Hopkins is a yellow ribbon school. How yellow ribbon works at Johns Hopkins is that it is applied only if the tuition cap is exceeded. If it is exceeded, qualifying students can receive up to $1,000 per year, and it's awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. So in the recent news, the Harry W. Colmery Veterans Educational Assistance Act of 2017, otherwise known as the Forever GI Bill, was signed into law. This law expands on the veterans education benefits offered through the Chapter 33 post 9/11 GI Bill. For example, it removes the benefit expiration dates for those who are discharged or released from the military on or after January 1st, 2013. So if this is you, you now have an unlimited amount of time to utilize your veterans education benefits. They do not expire. For more information on the Forever GI Bill, I encourage you to visit military.com and to search Forever GI Bill. They have some great information on other benefits that are wrapped up in this new law. If you are located outside of the U.S. and are interested in studying with us, here are some helpful tips to keep in mind. International students, of course, are welcome to study with us from their home country through our online programs. Whether you choose to study with us online or on site, here are some additional admissions requirements. International students must submit an international credit evaluation of the credit earned at any non-U.S. institutions. We prefer that students go through the third-party WES for this evaluation. They also must submit proof of English proficiency via, for example, qualifying scores on a TOEFL exam. On-site students, in order to maintain their F1 visa status, students must enroll full-time, the definition of which is on your screen right now, and must provide proof of financial support to cover annual living and education expenses. Next steps and important dates. So if you are interested in enrolling in one of our degree programs, your first step, of course, is to submit your application for admissions. You can do this by visiting the URL that you see on your screen, ep.jhu.edu/apply. Again, we do not charge an application fee, so it is free to submit your application for admissions. After you submit your application, you'll need to submit your academic transcripts and your professional resume. Here at Johns Hopkins, we have rolling admissions for our online and part-time programs. It typically takes our admissions and academic departments 4 to 6 weeks from the time that they receive an applicant's full application. So that's their online application plus their supplemental documents. It'll take them 4 to 6 weeks to review all of this information and to issue that applicant a decision letter. So with that timeline, here are some important dates to keep in mind. Our spring registration opens on October the 26th, which is right around the corner, and our spring semester actually begins on January the 29th. So if you are interested in beginning your studies with us in our spring semester, I encourage you to submit your application as soon as possible, ideally well before December 15th. To make sure that we have enough time to review your documents and that you have enough time to enroll in classes before the start of classes. So that is the end of our prepared portion of our presentation. I am going to go ahead and open up the question session and go ahead and start answering your questions. Jim, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, first question. Is it possible to do the program full-time? And is it possible to complete it in under 2 years?
Yes and yes. There are no upper bounds, basically, in terms of being able to take, the number of courses you can take. So it's a 10-course overall requirement. And as mentioned by Cheryl, even some of the international students are required to take at least 3 courses per semester. So with that, certainly you would get done in under 2 years. Now, I should just say that most of the students, of course, do not pursue it that way, but it is possible.
All right, wonderful. Yes. So for working professionals, we typically encourage our students to start off by taking 1 course a semester. Correct, Jim? So if you are
that's correct, yeah.
If you're not working, then you would be able to take more than that.
Right.
And I'll say that if you are working and you completed your first semester and you think that you can take on more than one class per semester, Jim, we do allow working professionals to take up to 2 courses a semester. Is that correct?
That is correct, without questions. And beyond 2, we start asking questions, want to get a little more information to allow for that, because it really becomes a real problem for most people who are working full-time to take beyond 2 courses.
Okay. All right. And as a follow-up questions, why do most students not complete the program full-time? Jim, the majority of our students are actually employed full-time, correct? They're working professionals.
Correct, yes. Right, the vast majority are working professionals, most of whom are employed full-time. So it would be pretty much impossible to do it full-time. That is the academic program full-time. Now, there are a few people I should mention who have part-time working arrangements with their employers, and in that case, of course, it is possible to accelerate the pace through the academic program, but that's case by case.
All right, wonderful. Next question, is transfer credit allowed from graduate level coursework taken in undergrad?
Again, case by case, but one rule we have is that we do not allow transfer credit for courses that have been used towards another degree. So if the graduate course at the undergraduate was used towards the bachelor's degree, that is not allowed. But if it's a course that one just took sort of on their own, perhaps after the bachelor's degree, or maybe even in parallel with the bachelor's degree, that would be considered. We do evaluate transfer courses case by case, but the overall rule is the one I just mentioned, that cannot have been used towards another degree.
Next question, are we assigned an advisor to help us plan out our graduate degree?
Absolutely, yes. And one of the first things that will happen is if you apply and get admitted, you'll get a letter, and it will have in the letter, it will give you a name of an advisor and contact information. And you will be asked to submit what's called a program plan, which is an initial sort of estimate, I should say, what your plan of study would be for all 10 courses. Now, that's not set in concrete. It can be readily changed as you move through the program, but it helps to open up a dialogue with your advisor. So yes, you are assigned an advisor and encouraged to use your advisor.
All right, wonderful. This attendee asks, this attendee is actually in another one of our graduate degree programs, another one of our online and part-time degree programs, and is considering transferring to this program. Is the process the same? I'm wondering if he is referring to the admissions process.
If this person, again, given that the person has already started another degree program, it is possible to transfer. So what we would do is that person would have to initiate the request with EP, and it would then be evaluated. The person's file would be pulled up. They would be an evaluation as if the person was a new applicant. Look at the transcripts, make sure it meets the requirements, because each program within EP of the 20 master's degree programs that Cheryl mentioned has somewhat different admissions criteria and look at different things depending on obviously the technical area of the program. So for us, obviously, we look at the math performance very carefully. So it is something that would be initiated by the student, and then we would sort of take it from there, and the student would get a decision.
All right. This next question, the attendee says that there is a section on our website called Prerequisites that lists complex analysis, ordinary differential equations, and partial differential equations.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. What the student is referring to are 200 level courses. So let me clarify a little bit. So within it, for our graduate degree or for the postmaster's certificate, there are a set of graduate courses broadly categorized into 2 levels, our sort of introductory graduate level, which is numbered as 400, and our upper graduate level, which is numbered as 700. So these are the courses that would count towards the 10-degree requirement for the master's or the 6-degree requirement for the postmaster's. Now, given that,
I see.
there are Right. Now, given that there are several 200 level courses, which are not graduate level courses, we provide these courses for two principal reasons. One is just as refresher. So a student may want a refresher on something that they haven't seen in a while. For instance, a person maybe who has been working for 10 years, maybe out of school for 10 years and working, maybe feels a little bit rusty about their multivariate calculus or some such, and wants to get a little refresher, they can take one of these 200 level courses. And the tuition for those 200 level courses, of which we offer 4, is reduced. So it's less than the standard tuition rate. I believe it is actually $1,000 per course. Cheryl may know if that's exactly correct, but it's around that. Now, that's one of the uses of those 200 level courses. The other use for the 200 level courses is that we will sometimes request or require, I should say, a student to take one or more of those courses, either because there's a hole or deficiency in the student's background, but they otherwise look well qualified, or because we want to evaluate that student a little bit further beyond the information that we have in the transcript and resume that was submitted with the application. So that we would call, sort of casually, we would call it a gray area admission situation, where we want to, it's not a clean, accept or reject decision. And so we'll use those courses partly in the evaluative process. The bottom line, however, is that those courses for a standard admission, a standard full admission, those courses are not required. If a person feels comfortable with taking classes, continuing from their prior education or work without going through the refresher process, and it's not a gray area admission situation, they can just jump right into the graduate level courses without taking one of those 200 level courses.
All right, great. Next question. If we have a favorable GRE score, should that be submitted with the application? So should it be submitted as a supplemental information?
It's certainly possible to submit it, and we will consider it. It's not one of our main requirements, as stated earlier. But if we have to go to a next level of evaluation beyond a transcript, the GRE score certainly would be of interest. So if you have it, you're welcome to submit it, but not a requirement.
Oh, yeah. So this attendee's question is, kind of confirming that the entire program can be completed in person. So it's, the on-site courses, is it only available in some courses, or can you complete the entire program on-site if somebody wished to?
Yes, you can. Now, some of the courses are only offered online, and some of the courses are only offered in person. So if you're absolute about only wanting to take all of your courses in one mode or the other, there are going to be some restrictions in which courses you can take. If there's some flexibility in terms of, say, well, you want to complete your degree principally in person, but you're willing to take an occasional online course, then effectively the whole list of the whole program is available to you. So yes, you can get a degree fully in one mode or fully in the other mode, but you have some restrictions in that. And if the person wants to get a little more detail, I'm happy to send a sheet that lists specifically what our courses, all of our courses and the mode in which they're offered. I do believe, by the way, that sheet is available at the EP website, but I can't tell you exactly what address it is at the EP website.
Sure, absolutely. And for students who are wishing to take on-site courses, they are typically in the late afternoon and evening, correct? Starting at 4:30 p.m., they're being
Correct.
the earliest class?
Right. So there are two time frames available for the in-person courses. One is 4:30 to 7:10. The other is 7:20 to 10 o'clock p.m. So both of them are nominally after work. Although I understand a 4:30 course might be requiring someone to leave work a little early if they're working sort of a typical full-time schedule.
Sure, absolutely. Next question: what software is used in the program, in the classes, or what tools?
Right. Okay. So in terms of software, that is case dependent. We don't have any mandated program-wide software requirement. As I mentioned, all the students have to come in with some programming experience, but we're flexible in terms of what that experience is. So I would say that the majority of courses use MATLAB as the programming tool, but that's not typically a requirement. Now, again, if a student had a lot of concern about that for one reason or another, he or she could contact the instructor in advance just to get clarification on that point. But for the most part, I mean, like for instance, in my own course, I don't care what people use. I may show a demonstration in MATLAB, but if people want to do it in Python, it doesn't matter to me. And I think a lot of instructors have that kind of attitude.
Okay. All right. Could you talk a little bit about how students communicate with their instructors in the online courses? For example, if they have questions, how do they reach out to them? How responsive are they? Things like that.
Okay, so first, one way, of course, is just good old email. But then there are various mechanisms through the online environment that allow communication between the instructor and the student, or amongst students themselves. So the instructors are required to be basically responsive, and there's a nominal rule that everybody has to check in at least once a day while they're doing an online course. So if the student has an issue with a technical matter and operates from within the online environment, the instructor should respond within 24 hours under ordinary conditions. The instructors that's part of the whole training process when a new online course is being developed, that the instructor has to be drilled into their head, basically, that they need to be highly responsive, and both in terms of substance and in terms of timeliness.
Okay, great. And I apologize if you just said this. You said that instructors hold live office hours once a week.
I didn't actually mention that, but that is typically part of it as well, right?
Okay.
At least once a week, right?
And so, this would be an opportunity to chat synchronously with their faculty, and it's recorded, correct? So that if you can't attend, you can always review the transcript or the recording afterwards.
Yes, right. Yep.
All right. This attendee has questions about prerequisite coursework. Would multivariate calculus and differential equations courses from a local community college suffice? How would I know if I'm on the right track to meet the prerequisites?
Okay, so the general answer is yes. We would want to do a little bit of looking. We certainly support local community colleges, and certainly a STEM-based calculus or differential equations course. I mean by that I mean courses designed for people majoring in engineering or science would be acceptable. I as chair or any of the advisors would be happy to do a pre-screening if a student had questions. So for example, if a student said, well, okay, I need to take a Calculus 3 class before applying, I'm not sure which one I should take, that student can reach out to me or to one of the other advisors, say, here's the information, this is the course I want to take at such and such a college, Howard Community College, for example, in this area. And then we would look at that and say that's okay or not okay. One thing I should mention is that certain types of prerequisite courses, such as business calculus, would not be acceptable. We do require the math courses to be the rigorous sequence that is traditionally associated with those of science or engineering majors.
All right, great. Two attendees have questions regarding the thesis option. One asked, is this a research degree, which I think is kind of related, and the other one asks, are online students able to pursue the thesis option as well?
Okay, so the first question about the research degree, it is a master's degree, and it can be a research degree or a non-research degree, sort of along the lines of what the student wants. The nominal degree does not include a thesis option, so most students just pursue the 10-course option, and you can pick your courses to be more researchy or more practical as appropriate. But that's the typical option. Now, a person, if they wanted to pursue the thesis option, then of course they would do 8 courses, in more traditional mode, that is online or face-to-face. But they would do the thesis as well to sort of fill out their more advanced requirement. In terms of the second question about whether that can be done online, I will say that the thesis option is a new option for us, relatively new within the last year or so. We have not had a student do it online. It's not to say that it could not be done. The rules are relatively flexible for that. You could go, the rules are available at the ACM sub-website within the EP website. There's a link somewhere in there with says research and thesis option or something. And you could read the whole requirements there, and I do not believe there's an exclusion of online possibilities. But I should caution one thing too, in terms of the rules, aside from the rules, that there's a need for a faculty sponsor, an advisor, and not all faculty may be willing to do an online thesis. That's just the reality. I can't speak for everybody, but some may and some may not. So that's case by case.
So it's depending upon, your sponsor or your mentor.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Let's take a couple seconds and just talk about kind of the online format in general terms. So I know that generally at Johns Hopkins, our online courses are formatted in kind of like a modular format, so that each week or every 2 weeks there's a module that students have to complete, and within that module are recorded lectures, there's readings, there's discussion, there's assignments, and those recorded lectures are it's not, for example, like 2 hours in one sitting. They're recorded in short chunks, correct? So that it's like 15 to 30 minutes.
Typically that is the length, yeah.
Okay.
Right. And you can pause it, go back, it's and so there's a lot of flexibility. If you miss a point, just rewind, so to speak, watch it again. But it's right. It's not sitting down for a 2-hour lecture. It is typically the length that you mentioned, Cheryl.
Great. And go ahead.
And then assignments and such are also usually done on let's say a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and they'd be submitted online. Materials to do the assignments would be available online. Grading would be done online, returned to the student as appropriate online. So everything is done online.
And how are assessments handled?
Again, all online, and that's it's case by case, but the typical way it might be done would be a timed exam would be given. So it would be, the instructor would say, okay, within this, say, 24-hour period, you were to start this exam. And once you log in and start, the ticker goes. And if it's a 2-hour exam, then it just sort of shuts you off after 2 hours. So that would be one way in which it's done. Now, other ways are things like take-home exams. So you might have a week or something to do a take-home exam. But yes, there are assessments, and they're all done. But they're all done through an online system.
Wonderful. This question comes from an attendee interested in wondering whether or not more of the pure math courses will be migrating online. For example, modern algebra. What are your thoughts?
Imminently, I would say no.
Okay.
Ultimately, perhaps. Right now, we are prioritizing some of the more popular courses for online conversion. Some of the pure math courses, modern algebra in particular, and maybe number theory being another example, topology being another example, are good courses. Certainly, they are admittedly not as popular as some of the other courses, and so they're not up for priority conversion to online.
Okay. These 2 questions I think will be relatively quick to answer. We had mentioned, and I can answer this first one, we had mentioned previously that diplomas will not say part-time, and that includes, they will not say online. So if whether you study with us part-time and on-site, or if you study with us part-time and online, regardless, your diploma will not say, online. It will say Masters of Science. Correct?
Right.
Yeah. And
Correct.
then the next student or the next attendee had a question, is there a placement test? Or placement
To
test?
place out of, I guess that's to place out of certain courses. Is that the question?
Why don't you talk in that particular way? I also, in some universities, there's like an initial placement test that you have to take in order to kind of gauge your level of mathematical comprehension.
Right. Now that's more something I associate with the undergraduate level, but
Right.
what we do is, of course, we have a requirements for full admission, which we've already discussed. The standard four semesters of STEM level math, that is Calc 1, 2, and 3, plus the additional course. Given that the person has had those courses and has done well in those courses and meets some of the other requirements, then they would be given a full admission and could just start the program. We would allow, in some cases, a person to place out of the initial statistics class. As I mentioned earlier, one of the core requirements is a course in statistics, statistical analysis, statistical methods and data analysis, numbered 625403. That's a very popular course for us. However, some people come in with a strong background, and we will allow placement of that. We don't have a placement test per se, but we will get other information to evaluate their background. There are no other placement tests in terms of exempting from a certain course or replacing coursework that should have been done at the undergraduate level, that kind of thing.
Okay. Two attendees had questions about the virtual live format. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that format works? And
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, so the virtual live format is, you could view it as sort of a hybrid between a face-to-face course and a fully online course. With the virtual live format, there is a lecture in a classroom given by one of our professors, and students can attend that just in a normal way. However, that lecture is also being broadcast in real time to other students who may not be sitting in the classroom. And that lecture also gets recorded. In all honesty, it's a recording of a person doing a lecture, say up at a whiteboard. It's not usually as slick, in all honesty, as a fully online class, which is optimized for that particular format. This is more like an online transmission of a traditional course with a few small modifications to that. For example, using a whiteboard as opposed to a chalkboard, that kind of thing. Typically, the work is submitted electronically as it is in the online environment. So, for example, the homework and quizzes and tests are done typically electronically. So it does provide an option for a student who wants to have the face-to-face experience and is available in this general geographical area. But may still even occasionally maybe have a work assignment. For instance, when they're going to work late that night, they can't attend class, or maybe they're on travel or sick or whatever. They could still then get access to the material online via either the real-time following along with the lecture, or else looking at the recorded version at a later date. So that in a nutshell is what the virtual live is about.
Great. And the synchronous times is the same time of our regular on-site courses, correct? So that would be
correct. Right. So if you want to do the real time, you're going to have to sort of tap into 4:30 Eastern time or 7:20 Eastern time start time, which I understand for some people who are, say, overseas, and that may not be appropriate. But that is one of the restrictions. That's why it's not the virtual live is not really a fully online course. It can be taken fully remotely, but it's not at the same optimized format for online education as a truly online course is.
All right, great. This attendee asks, when will the 2018 courses be populated on our website? Do you know when we will post the course schedule, I guess, for the summer?
Well, for the summer, I mean, you mentioned the one for the spring. I don't know if we have the date. Well, I'm sure the dates are just. I don't know what the dates are for the for the summer. In all honesty. Those might be available at the website. I don't know. You know, in terms of what, because I do plan that in somewhat in the future. I think it's something like in the March timeframe is when they post the summer course listings, but I won't swear to that.
I think that's right as well. To that attendee, we will consult with our colleagues in the registrar's office and get back to you. Thank you very much for your questions. Next question, what is the main consideration during the admissions process? And then this attendee also goes on to ask if we can share the acceptance rate for the program, and if it is possible for a student to first, oh, well, it wouldn't be possible to complete the certificate and then the master's degree, because the certificate that's offered is a postmaster's certificate. So you would have to have a master's degree prior to completing the certificate. So
that's correct. Okay, so let me see. There are several questions there.
Yes.
The prime evaluation criterion, I should say, would be undergraduate academic performance, or even more generally, prior academic performance, including graduate academic performance. So we would look at, so for example, a person coming with just a bachelor's degree and no other graduate education, we're obviously going to look at their overall performance. We're going to look specifically at the math courses, and we have the advertised criterion of 3.0 GPA as a sort of a floor for that. We'll see if that's met. Beyond that, we may dig into further information if the person has provided additional information, even things like GRE scores or letters of reference or resume, work experience, all these kind of things will be considered. But the primary rationale, far and away, is prior academic performance. Now, if the person also has some graduate education in advance, maybe another master's degree or some graduate courses that weren't used towards a degree, we will also look at that as well. So we do it again. It's a case-by-case situation for the evaluation, but the heavy emphasis is on prior academic performance. In terms of acceptance rate, I don't actually know the numbers, so I can't answer that question. But since we advertise our criteria, people can sort of know going in whether they're going to make it or not. Have a pretty good idea just by the fact that we put out that number of, the 3.0 GPA, sort of a threshold.
I will say that unlike a full-time resident program, we are not limited in terms of the number of seats for this program, correct? So
correct.
Our goal is to admit applicants that we think will be successful in the program, as opposed to a set number.
Right.
We were just speaking a little bit about the postmaster's certificate, and one attendee had a question regarding kind of the differences between pursuing that credential as opposed to a PhD.
Well, there is a considerable difference. The postmaster's certificate is a set of 6 courses, and these are supposed to be the more advanced courses. So we have some, there are some rules about it, so they have to be chosen from among the more advanced courses, but they are still courses. There is no formal dissertation requirement. So obviously with the PhD, that is the centerpiece of the PhD is the dissertation. So it is as I said, it's something between, but and sometimes you might say it's closer to the master's degree than it is to the PhD because it doesn't have the dissertation. For a working professional, it could sometimes be more accessible to do that kind of thing, the postmasters as opposed to the degree as opposed to the PhD, because of the fact that you can get it done in a fairly short period of time.
So the purpose of a postmaster's certificate is really just to give students who have already earned their master's degree the opportunity to take coursework with us and earn a credential, right? So you can drill down into a particular topic, but it doesn't have the same research component as a PhD would have.
Right. Now, I should mention that there is still the thesis option, just as there was the master's thesis option. There is also the postmaster's thesis option. So there is a possibility of doing research but we don't have much data, so to speak, on that right now.
Sure.
What we have found in the past, just as well, one more thing about the postmasters, is that we have found that a lot of our students get into the program and they see so many courses that they would like to take. There's so many interesting courses, and even within the 10 course requirement, the master's degree, there's still many other courses they would want to take. And so they just stay on with us. They say, well, this course looks really interesting. This other course looks really interesting. I want to take that too. So the postmasters provides sort of a relatively seamless transition from your master's degree to something beyond the master's degree, and allow you to, as Cheryl said, sort of drill down a little bit further in an area that might be of interest and take some courses that you really couldn't fit into your 10-course master's requirement.
This attendee has questions regarding help resources. So for classes, is there any other help other than the recorded lectures? We've talked about the live office hours that happen once a week. What other resources do students have to turn to if they need assistance?
Are you talking about face-to-face or online or both? I guess that's the question.
Why don't we just say both?
What's that?
Why don't we just say both? If students have need assistance, who do they turn to?
Right. Okay. So in the online environment, there's obviously the first thing, beyond the instructor would be the other students in the class, because there are exchanges amongst the students as part of the course request, part of the educational process within an online course. Beyond that, then obviously it gets into things like, a tutor or something on your own. That's a normal course of affairs. So the course environment itself provides a structure for learning the subject. If you want to go beyond that, it's honestly probably going to be on your own. And I would say it's similar for the face-to-face course too. It's maybe not as formalized there, but there's you can contact the instructor. You can at some level work with some of the other students. That's a little more limited there, but it's possible. And after that, it really sort of gets to be on your own. These are graduate courses, and so we do expect some personal responsibility and personal initiative, I guess I should say, towards learning.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. This attendee has a question about the probability and stochastic processes course sequence 1 and 2. Are they planned to be put online anytime soon?
Probably not. In all honesty, what we are doing is the next sequence. We have 3 sequences that are, this person may know, 3 sort of upper level sequences of which the student has to pick one of them. And one of those 3 upper level sequences is this stochastic process sequence. That one, for the moment, we are keeping face-to-face, and that is the long-term intent. So we have the theory of statistics sequence already online. There's a move afoot to move the differential equation sequence online, but for the moment, we're going to keep the stochastic process face-to-face to provide students options.
Well, team, thank you so very much for your time this evening. Jim, thank you so much for all of this great information and for answering all of our questions.
My pleasure. It was a great thing. Great to be with you all electronically.
Absolutely. To everyone listening, this presentation has been recorded. We've had a wonderful evening with you. Thank you so much for giving us so much of your time, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon. Take care.